Hello and welcome to your reading. If you're new to my channel, all you have to do is take a look at the 3 talismans on top of these card piles here and pick your favorite. And if you're one of my regulars, welcome back. You already know the drill. We're going to call this talisman here pile 1, this one right here pile 2, and this one right here, pile 3. So just see which one is calling you and look in the video description for the timestamp associated with your chosen talisman and click on that for your reading. All right, you have chosen pile 1 with the talisman that I call the Shaman's Light. Now this pendant here features a hand-sculpted face that I made to look kind of mysterious and androgynous. You can't really tell whether this form is male or female, from which culture it originates, or from which era. And that's because this face is meant to represent our cosmic consciousness as well as our collective consciousness. This is the face of the ancients and the face of our future. And wearing a piece of jewelry with a face like this is a way of connecting to your higher guidance. So whether this is something you think of as a spirit guide or a guardian angel or an ancestor or your higher self, it's meant to be kind of a visual aid to use in connection to that consciousness energy. What makes the piece really special is that on the back of this shaman's face, the hidden treasure or the sacred secret is this piece of celestial quartz. Now, when it comes to crystal healing, celestial or celestiated quartz crystals are among the most powerful for awakening crystal consciousness, which basically means being able to tap into and feel the energy within different gemstones and crystals. In the Book of Stones, one of the first crystals I read about years and years ago when I started my crystal journey, celestial quartz jumped out at me because the authors of that book said that you can carry a piece of celestial quartz with you every day for your entire life. And each day, the energy or the vibration is going to be different. It's like a master teacher where every lesson will take you a step further. So if you felt drawn to this of the 3 talismans, what it means is that you're at a point in your spiritual journey when you're ready to unlock the next level. It's like you're leveling up in the game of life or in the game of spiritual awareness. Your guides are reaching out to you, your higher self is talking to you, you're developing that wisdom of a shaman. Now the center stone in this piece, I'm not sure if the camera can quite pick it up, but that's actually a sphere of rainbow obsidian, which looks like it's just a black stone from a distance, but when you see it up close and you see kind of the reflective sheen, there are different colors in the spectrum that have a glow within it. And then the top little tiny crystal here, I'll try to focus that, is a miniature Lemurian seed quartz. You can see the little striations running up the side. And a lot of mystics believe that if you run your finger along the carvings, which are natural, these were not added by an artist or a gem cutter, these are there inscribed by Mother Nature. A lot of crystal mystics believe that when you touch these and tap into that energy, you connect with the ancient culture known as Lemuria. And so if you've had past lives in civilizations we no longer see in our history books that we've kind of lost the connection with, you can reawaken that wisdom and that connection. So yeah, this is your talisman. I'll put it over here so it's still kind of in the frame during your reading. And now I will play a little singing bowl to purify the cards, and we'll get started. So as I play the singing bowl, set the intention that whatever messages come through in your reading today come through from your higher guidance. Don't think of these as messages from me to you. I'm just here to interpret what comes up in the cards, but these are the cards chosen by you and for you. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. And with that, we will start. So what we're going to do for today's reading, using the Crystal Ally cards, we're going to look at your present, your past, and your future, energetically speaking. And so these cards will reveal what's going on in your inner space. Wow. Okay, some cards flipped over as I'm talking, so we're going to look at these as extra messages for you. But these cards represent what's going on in your energetic makeup. So what's driving you in this life? Basically, your reason for being. Starting in the present moment, going back about 1 month and forward about 1 month. And then after we've looked at these, I'm going to pull some cards from the tarot to explain basically what's interfering with your realization of these energies, because all three of these are reversed. So let's start here with the jumpers, as I call them. Whenever cards flip over during shuffling, it means this is a message for you beyond the timeline of present, past, future. This is like your right now message. And the first of these cards is the card of wisdom, represented by the crystal apophyllite. And so what apophyllite represents, it's an air element stone, and air connects with your capacity for self-expression, for reason, for intelligence, and for coming to terms with the intellectual surroundings in which you find yourself. When the card of wisdom is here, and this card is right side up, which means you are totally tuned into your wisdom at this moment. This elderly man is here holding the crystal, and the look on his face is pure serenity. Just look at that slight smile. His eyes are open. He's wearing the Rudraksha seeds of a mystic. He's in his element. He's in nature. And you can just see that even wordlessly, even in his silence, he's communicating something really profound. When this card is here, your chronological age is irrelevant. You are wisdom embodied. You may sometimes feel like you just don't resonate with other people your age. For example, when you were in school, you may have been bored by the gossip or the things, the trends that the other kids were into. You would have felt more like there was something deeper you wanted to talk about. There was something more to life than just the accumulation of stuff or who's doing what behind whose back. That wisdom is something that's reawakening within you at this moment in time. And you're connecting with yourself more as far as understanding this wisdom and really learning how to express and communicate it. Now, interestingly, the other card that jumped out is also an air element card, only this one is in the reverse, and it's the card of reason. Reason is one of those interesting words that has two meanings. So reason, it can be the justification or the necessity for which we have to do something, like what's the reason you're going there or seeing that person or doing that thing. Reason can also be your intellectual grasp of something, having reason within you, being a good understander, for lack of a better word for it right now. So when you're tapped into your reason, you're purpose-driven, and you feel truly like you found your niche. Now, when this card is reversed, you're tapping into that wisdom. You're remembering that there's something deeper and something higher to which you're called in life. But this card's reversal shows that there may still be a lack of direction as to how to apply that wisdom. You know kind of what you want to say, and you're starting to figure out how you want to say it. But the actual area in which this is going to contribute to your life, how you're going to make a living at it, how you're going to really integrate this, whether that be into your family or your social circle or your work life, that's still a little bit elusive. The good thing about this particular card, with the sacred seed of life, sacred geometry within it, is that it's irreversible. If you look at this central mandala wheel from any direction, it remains the same. And so what the card is telling you is do what you love, do what you feel called to do, follow your reason. Even if you don't know where it's going to lead you, you're going in the right direction. So I just love it when we see a symbol like this that's the same, right side up or upside down. You may feel like you're going in reverse, but you're not. Okay, so now your present, your past, and your future. The present moment is the Moldavite card representing transformation, and it is reversed. So this is truly a time in your life where you feel like you're ready to change directions, you're ready to shake up and do away with what's no longer serving you. You no longer feel scared of the unknown, but there's still some hesitancy. You're still not really jumping into something new just yet. Now, whether that's because your physical surroundings prohibit a major reinvention of yourself, or whether it's more to do with this reason card where you know what you want to do, just not necessarily how to do it or in which way to integrate it. And so it's like when you're building up to a climax point and you're running and you're running and you're running and you see that finish line and then you get winded and you stop. It's like an anticlimactic feeling. It is the main energy I'm getting from these cards. If we look about a month to the past, the fire element card of spontaneity, represented by the calcite crystal, is also in reverse. And so what this card shows is that over the past month, you've had moments of inspiration and moments of creative passion where you felt like you have something that you're here to do. But instead of jumping into that spontaneity, instead, you've kind of forced yourself to continue with the mold of duty and obligation. And so instead of really feeling passionate about your life and excited about everything that you're doing, you're more maintaining your status quo and figuring out what you have to do as opposed to what you want to do. What this is leading to in the next month, if you continue along this timeline without really changing anything, is the card of acceptance reversed, represented by lilac lepidolite. Now, lepidolite is a water element stone that really speaks to our freedom to go with the flow, to just relax with the current of life and go where it takes us. When we're following our spontaneity, experiencing moments of transformation, one of the worst things we can do for ourselves is plan out every moment and not leave any room for the universe to intervene. What these cards are showing, it's like you're manifesting something, you're declaring into existence. You might even find yourself doing this, speaking out loud what it is that you want to do. And you think you're being receptive to intervention by the universe, but you're not actually leaving room for the universe to intervene, because as well as declaring your intentions, you're also planning how those intentions should manifest. This is pretty specific, so if it's not resonating with you completely, just go with the more generalized messages on this cards. But I feel like somebody watching this needs to hear this message. It could be you. For some of you, it is you. But a quick lesson in manifestation here. Manifestation does not require direct action. It requires direct surrender into existence's capacity to fulfill your intended manifestation. So if you declare to existence that you are ready for your dream job or your dream partnership or a creative idea to flood into your mind, the next step after setting that intention and declaring that intention is not to start planning all the steps necessary in order to make it into a reality. The next step is to believe that by nature of the fact that you've intended it, you've got it. Live as if that intention has manifested already. And by doing that, you are telling the universe that you are open and available for intervention, for the miraculous to take place. Now, I just want to give a little amendment to that, or kind of like the fine print. This doesn't mean that you can overstep other people's self-sovereignty by setting the intention that this person is going to feel this way about me and do that thing for me, and this is going to happen. I do get messages sometimes from people who are a little bit disappointed that their manifestations aren't taking place because they've set an intention, or they're trying to manifest a specific relationship with a specific other person. That's not exactly how this works. The way it works would be, if you're looking to manifest a great relationship, don't dictate to existence the exact person you think you're supposed to have that relationship with, because their path might be something else. However, you can decide what kind of a partnership you want, what kind of a partner you want to be, and what kind of a partner you wish to attract. And when you start putting it out there that you are ready to manifest such a partnership, existence will already have an understanding of who else is resonating at that same frequency with you, and who else is ready for the level that you're ready to enter into. I hope this is making sense. Now, I'm not saying specifically that you who chose the first talisman or pile one, it's not necessarily that you're trying to manifest a relationship. This could be whatever you're trying to manifest. I'm feeling, especially when it comes to creativity and productivity, it's like you have this understanding that there's something more you want to do. Put it out there that you are already that. If you want to be a great author, start writing immediately. And it doesn't matter whether you've already sold a copy of a book or published an article. The moment you start writing, you are a writer. And be proud of that and live as if you're already successful, and then existence will start putting opportunities your way. But if you decide what you want to do and what you want to be, and then instead of going with the flow, you live the way society conditions you to live, where you feel like you don't have the right to be what you want to be until other people validate and recognize it, you're pushing that manifestation further and further and further away. And so I've been listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks for the past month, and that's where I think a lot of this is coming from right now. I highly recommend you listen to some of their recordings if you're interested in getting into this flow of manifestation, this co-creation with the universe. But the main point is, if you feel like you want to manifest something, but you're coming from that place of lack where it's driven by wanting it, not the joy, the spontaneity, the enjoyment of understanding it's already yours, the universe will keep giving you more of what it thinks you like, which is more of what you're already doing, which is feeling like you don't have that thing yet. And so our goal in this reading is to rectify the reverse cards. Instead of seeing transformation reversed, where you're ready for a change but the change isn't happening, or spontaneity reversed, where you feel like getting creative and jumping for joy and celebrating your creative inspiration, but instead you're just procrastinating your creativity in order to do the chores of life or what needs to be done. And instead of going with that divine flow and letting life carry you where you're meant to be, you're trying to swim against the current and do what you think you're supposed to do. Instead of having these energies blocked, we want to see them right side up. And so I'm going to look at the Osho Zen Tarot next. And I'm just going to ask the higher guidance for all those who chose pile 1. What is the fact of life in the way of transformation? What's the fact of life in the way of spontaneity? And what's preventing this going with the flow, the receptivity, and the acceptance? Okay, fighting, ordinariness, and aloneness. Okay, these are some pretty specific messages here. So when the fighting card comes up over top of the transformation card, it shows that as much as you know there's a spiritual calling for you and that it's time to evolve past what you've always had to be in order to fit in this life, when you know it's time to kind of grow these Moldavite wings and transform into your most divine self, what's getting in the way of that is the conditioning from the world around you, people telling you that it's a fantasy, that you're not really meant to be anything great, that you are who you are. We see this character covered in this hard metal armor. Look at all the spikes on his suit. And then in the background, there's these ghostly figures just wringing each other's necks in anger. What that shows is that the fighting is not just on the physical level, it's also an inner conflict. There's an expression, battling your inner demons. And this doesn't refer to an external negative spiritual entity coming at you. What it refers to are all the different layers of self-doubt, social conditioning, feelings of duty and obligation, and self-criticism that start up in us from a very young age. Right before filming this video, I looked over the comments from last month's reading, and someone had asked, what do I think the inner dialogue is in a person's head? You know, when you're just living your life, doing your thing, there's always a monologue going on inside. And, you know, if you're walking down the street, you might be thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner later, or if you're on your way to meet a friend, you might be trying to plan out conversation topics so that you know what you want to say to them. That inner monologue, it can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. So imagine you do something embarrassing in public. Like, say you're in line at a coffee shop, you order your drink, you're standing there waiting for it, you kind of, stop paying attention for a minute, you reach to grab a drink, and you spill something. Does your inner voice immediately start mocking you, saying, you stupid idiot, look at what you just did. Ugh, I can't take you anywhere nice because you make a fool of yourself, dumbass? Or does your inner voice say, okay, don't worry about this, we got this, let's get a napkin, we'll find out whose drink this was and apologize, they'll make them a new one, it's all good? Like, is your inner voice quick to jump to self-criticism or problem solving? And this is not something that you're stuck with. This is something that you can change. From a young age, we tend to become our own worst critics because we become very conscious of how other people see us, because everyone around us is constantly critical of everyone else around us. In school, any kid who's a little bit different gets bullied and picked on by the other kids. And so what do we learn from the bullies on the playground? We learn to act normal so that we don't get picked out and singled out and teased. We learn to hide our flaws because we know other people are going to zero in on whatever they think is wrong with us and beat us up for it, either verbally or even physically if you had a really bad bully in your school. Now, the armor we start putting on to defend ourselves like this can turn into a lifelong inner fight if instead of deciding that because the world is going to judge us and the world is going to criticize us, we have to be our inner strength and inner support system. A lot of the times what happens instead is that inner monologue turns into an inner bully. And so we call ourselves fat if we gain a little bit of weight. We call ourselves stupid if we get a bad mark on a test. We call ourselves ridiculous if we set a goal and then later discover it's difficult to reach that goal. We start just harping on ourselves for every little thing that we do. And so when we have this calling coming from our higher self, from our spiritual self, telling us we are destined to do something more, that inner fight, that voice of criticism will start saying, who are you to seek enlightenment? What makes you think with all your flaws, with all the mistakes you've ever made, you spilled that drink at the coffee shop that once, like you could get enlightened? This is the voice that needs to be overcome in order for that transformation to take place. And a lot of people will tell you it's impossible to silence that inner critic, or it's impossible to consciously choose what to think when you want to think it. But I'm telling you, I know from personal experience, you can reverse this fighter. You can turn your inner critic into an inner cheerleader. And there are a few different techniques for doing it. I'll give you a couple. Pick the one that you think would work best for you and be playful about it. Don't feel like you have to succeed immediately. And if you hear another self-critical voice, then you failed at it. No, because that would defeat the whole purpose. This isn't meant to be one more thing to succeed or fail at that you can beat yourself up over if you fail at it. This is just how to get into that space of transformation. The way to do it is ask yourself one simple question. Is your intention for your life to be good to the people around you, to leave the world a little bit better than when you entered it, to be a positive force in existence? Is that your intention? Or is your intention to destroy as many people as possible, to ruin the environment as much as possible, to hurt others, to hurt the world, and to leave this place worse than when you entered it? Is your intention to be something good or something bad? If your intention is to be something good, then naturally you deserve your own respect, your own encouragement, your own enthusiasm. And if a mistake happens or if something goes wrong, reminding yourself that your intention is to do good and to be good means that you remember you need your own support. You should be your own cheerleader, not the opposing team egging you on to failure. When you remember that you intend to be something good, naturally your own compassion starts turning inward towards itself. And instead of just being a friend to others who are in need, you also become a friend to yourself in need. And this is when the voice in your mind, instead of being your lower critical schoolyard fighter bully self, becomes this beautiful, compassionate, bodhisattva-looking master self. Just look at the look on his face. You know that his inner dialogue is not saying, ugh, your necklace got tangled, you're such a moron, who are you to even dress in these robes that look like the clothing of a master, you're such a fraud. No, the way he feels about himself comes clear in the happiness in his eyes. this card is you, because this was the very first card that flipped over when I was still shuffling. That wisdom is the wisdom you're tuning into at this moment in time. The fighting is just something that was put on you from the outside from a young age to make you feel inferior. And I personally believe this is the ultimate sickness in our society, because we're raised with things like bullies in the playground, random testing in school that makes you feel like a failure if your grades don't hold up. There's so much pressure to be financially successful, to fit the beauty standards implied by industries that just want to make money off your insecurities. There are so many factors at play to try to make you think that you should be something that you're not, that it's hard not to have some defensive armor. It's hard not to be fighting yourself on the inside. But again, just remembering that your intention is to be good means that you deserve to treat yourself nicely. You are a wonderful, compassionate, loving being, and you deserve compassion and love and goodness. And I know you would not be watching a video like this one if your intention was to be something bad in the world. So I already know that you chose to be good, not bad. It's just a matter of you honoring that about yourself. Now, the other technique to silence that inner critic, think of somebody who you really, really love. This could be a little kid who you know, maybe a younger sibling or a younger cousin or a friend's child or your own child if you're a parent, or somebody who you just really love, somebody really nice in your life, maybe your mother, maybe your grandmother. Just pick somebody who gives you a really sweet feeling. And then think of the things you say to yourself, and imagine you saying those same things to that person who you love so much. If a little kid tripped and fell and spilled a drink in front of you, would you say to that little kid, "Oh, you stupid idiot, I can't take you anywhere, you just embarrass me all the time"? Hell no. You'd say, "It's okay, sweetie, come on, we'll clean you up, we'll get you another drink, don't cry, don't worry about it." If your grandmother said something embarrassing out in public, you wouldn't say to her, "Oh, I can't believe you said that, that's so cringy, oh, idiot, idiot, idiot," and you wouldn't smack her on the forehead the way you sometimes smack yourself on the head if you feel like you did something embarrassing. So the other technique to turn your inner critic into an inner support system or an inner nurturer is imagine that instead of you talking to yourself, you're talking to somebody who means the world to you. And guaranteed, it's going to soften your tone. Because your inner voice can also be the way the divine speaks to you, whether you call it God or goddess, whether you call it angel or spirit guide or higher self. The best way that spiritual force has to communicate to you is through you. You don't want to block that channel or that receptivity by constantly droning on in a negative way about your own goals or about your manifestations. The other thing this card shows in the context of your reading so far is that what's blocking your manifestations from materialization or divine intervention is that as soon as you put it out there that you want something, this fighter is coming up with reasons why you can't have it. You might set the declaration for financial abundance, and then here's this guy here getting defensive, saying, "Nope, it's not going to happen because blah, 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 blah." And then it doesn't happen. Now, the reason we often do that is because we think we are saving ourselves from disappointment. If we decide that we want something and we start manifesting it, and it's not immediately visible because it hasn't yet become physicalized, even though energetically it might be in progress of fulfillment, instead of keeping our focus clear and going towards that manifestation, we think we don't want to get our hopes up, and so we start coming up with reasons that, well, if it doesn't happen, it's okay because. And so we put up armor. We think we're defending ourselves against an enemy, but what that armor actually does is defend ourselves from blessings. And we don't want that. If you're in a dream space and you see a character like this, are you going to open your arms to try to hug them? Or are you going to put your fists up because it looks like they want to fight and you're going to have to defend yourself against that challenger? If that's the face you're putting up towards existence, you're asking for a fight. And so the best way to rectify the reversal of the Moldavite card, the reversal of the transformation card, is to consciously drop your armor. And so kind of your homework after this reading for the month of February is to let go of this armor and this shielding that you've put up around yourself. Let go of the feeling that you have to prevent yourself from getting your hopes up by denying the things you want to manifest before you experience them. Let go of these feelings of inferiority or these feelings of defensiveness and become your own inner best friend instead of your critic. Now, I want to talk a little bit about these cards too. So I asked, well, what was blocking the spontaneity? And sure enough, it's the card called Ordinariness. Remember what I had said about this card? It's like you get creative ideas, you get bursts of passion and inspiration, but you feel like you have to fulfill the obligations in life before you allow yourself the luxury of creativity and passion. That's what the Ordinariness card shows. Now the scene is actually quite beautiful. It's springtime, there's cherry blossoms or maybe apple blossoms. She's picking flowers. It's actually an extraordinary scene. The message of ordinariness refers to when we stop seeing the miraculous in the day-to-day because we're filtering it out. We're thinking, I have to go out there and weed the garden, instead of, wow, look at these plants that are growing to nourish me and to add beauty to my yard. Start seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. And instead of feeling like you're duty-bound and obligated to do things in life, like brush your teeth, wash your face, clean your place, cook your dinner, go to work, pay your bills, pay your rent, file your taxes, instead of feeling like all those things on your to-do list are preventing you from the possibility to be spontaneous, find the gaps between those tasks. And instead of going into modes of worry and self-argument or avoiding your possibilities, you can even schedule time for spontaneity. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron. I know you can't really have scheduled, planned, on the calendar spontaneity. But hear me out on this. If you have creative things you want to do that you feel you don't have time to enjoy, make yourself the time to enjoy them. For example, I went through a few months with my Etsy shop where I just wasn't feeling inspired to make jewelry. This was about last summer. And I don't know what it was, but I just got out of the habit of making jewelry every day. And then I would start thinking, if I make a new piece, then I have to wait until the lighting is nice, then I have to take photos by the window, and I have to make them look good, and then I have to upload them, and then I have to write an item description. And it's like all the things that I had to do on my computer, which is not my happy space, got in the way of me enjoying the creativity at the jewelry bench, which is my happy place. So what I finally did to kind of break myself out of the rut where I didn't feel like making anything new was I decided I'm just going to make a bunch of pieces without the pressure that as soon as they're made, I have to photograph them and upload them. Let me just sit down and look at my beads and look at my supplies and make something because I want to make it. And that's when I discovered how much I love sculpting with polymer clay and making things like this. And as soon as I actually scheduled the time and decided, okay, every afternoon, that's my creation time, that's when I'm either going to sit down at my keyboard and play some music, or open my sketchbook and draw a picture, or sit at the desk and make a piece of jewelry. But the moment I decided from this time to this time every day, I make something creative, I started getting so into it. And, when you decide for yourself that you're going to schedule time for your creative passions, even if you're going through like a writer's block or creative block where you're not feeling inspired, the inspiration reawakens again so powerfully. You can even decide, like this is what I did again last year. I decided, okay, 15 minutes, I have to sit here. If that means I make one bracelet, I make one bracelet. If that just means I pick out some beads and arrange them on the tray to make a necklace, I'll arrange them, but just play with my supplies for 15 minutes. The moment I would start actually just laying out the beads, hours would go by. It was never just the 15 minutes I had set aside, because once you get into it, you lose time. You know how they say time flies when you're having fun. Sorry, I shook the table there. What I'm feeling by looking at your cards, the mental image that's coming up for me, and again, this is fairly specific, so this might be just one of you who's watching who will resonate with this. But what I'm feeling is like when you contemplate something you want to do, a goal or something creative, whether it's making music or writing something or drawing something or choreographing a dance or whatever creative thing, making a YouTube video, inventing a recipe, blogging. It's like there's an idea, but you'll kind of catastrophize the number of steps necessary to fulfill that idea. So instead of just jumping in and doing it, you'll talk yourself out of it, because you'll build it up to be a big commitment of time, not realizing that if you just start doing it, you won't even feel the passage of that time. So what I mean by that is, if you have an idea to do something and then you think, oh, but in order to write that, I'll have to dig out a pen and find some paper. And then by the time I sit down, then it's going to take this much time to actually write it out. No, I'm just going to watch another show on Netflix or whatever thing that you do to fill your time that's not actually creating something. It feels like you're doing something easier or more enjoyable, but that's just because that's become the ordinariness in your life. That has become the pattern of your life. And so when we're doing things because that's the rut that we've carved ourselves into, or that's like the groove that we're caught in, it gets harder and harder and harder to break out of that rut by doing something new, because we think that the something new we're going to be doing. And this could also be implementing a new fitness routine or a walking schedule. It doesn't just have to be about creative things. It can be self-improvement in any capacity, starting to do some more yoga, whatever. We think that it's going to be less enjoyable because it feels like it's going to be worky if it's different than what we're doing now. But when you just start actually doing it, you rediscover how enjoyable it is, and then it's so easy to go through it. Then that inner fighting drops away. You're no longer convincing yourself to do something or talking yourself out of it. There's no convincing or talking out of it. You're just doing it. You're just living it. Then the spontaneity is awakened. Then the transformation happens. And then you can go with the flow in life. You can accept that you're in the right place at the right time. Acceptance is the ultimate receptivity. That's when the universal blessings can flow to you uninhibited. The aloneness card here is one of my favorites. This character is like the hermit. He's alone, but he's not lonely. He's out there in the beauty of the nighttime. He's wearing the robes of a monastic, which represents living with surrender to the infinite. And wherever he's going, He's radiating that inner light. Being alone but not lonely doesn't mean that you don't have friends or you don't have relationships or you don't connect with family. What it means is that you don't need anybody else's approval to be who you are and to enjoy being who you are. It's like the card of becoming your own best friend. And for this to be here over the card of acceptance, one of the few cards, or the only really positive one that was right side up immediately as soon as it was put down, shows that this really is the path that you're on, the path to being your own strength. Doesn't mean you have to take some monastic vows or go off on a solitary pilgrimage, but what it does mean is to cultivate enjoyment in your aloneness. Do some yoga by yourself. Have a nice meditation by yourself. Look into yourself. Listen to your inner voice. Connect with this beautiful wisdom that is you. And you can be alone, but never lonely. So there we have it. This is your reading for the day. I'm going to do something different as a conclusion of this reading and pull a card from my new favorite oracle deck. It's a really special deck for me. It was a gift from somebody very special. So I'm going to request one card for everyone who chose pile 1. What's like the final message from existence? And because this deck is new for me, I'm going to actually read the message from the guidebook for you. Feeling this one here. Reclaim your energy. Is that not exactly what this whole thing has been about? Turning that inner voice into an inner cheerleader. So reclaim your energy. Number 42. When we embrace an energy-aware lifestyle, we start to notice when we feel drained or ungrounded. We may feel flat or out of our center after spending time with certain people or places. Our energy is our responsibility, and how we give it away becomes a conscious choice as we step into empowerment. But what about the fragments of self we give away before we come to this awareness? Yes, it is possible to recover and restore yourself to wholeness. In shamanic practice, so you chose the light of the shaman as your talisman. This is your confirmation that you picked the right pile. In shamanic practice, recapturing and reuniting with lost fragments of ourselves is called recapitulation. Even when we become aware of the patterning that unnecessarily chews up our energy, we may still feel drained by certain people or situations. When we grow our awareness further and take note of our triggers, we see it is always our choice where our energy goes, although it might not feel that way. We may feel we need to give to the people we most care about in a way that depletes us. We may hold a subconscious sense of obligation to others or a belief that our own needs cannot be met until we've taken care of everyone else, the duty and necessity that was coming up in the past. We may run ourselves ragged meeting deadlines, keeping customers happy, living up to expectations, or ensuring we have everything others require from us. Many of us expand energy through drama, self-doubt, self-sabotage, anxiety, and fear. That's that fighting card there. Sometimes we sense we're giving too much but cannot see exactly how it's happening, or that our effort may be unproductive or even counterproductive. But it doesn't have to be like this. To claim more time and energy for yourself, look at what is and isn't serving you. You may need to make changes in your external environment. More often, the most effective changes will be to your perception of self. What beliefs and learnings serve you? What fear-based and limiting expectations are keeping you from your power? Consciously choose to align yourself with ideas that serve you, and suddenly you'll have a lot more energy for the meaningful, inspiring parts of your life. You'll also have improved presence and more of your loved ones. For your loved ones. We become aware of our patterning through self-awareness. By observing the observer, we can broaden our perspective of how and why we react to certain stimuli. This understanding helps us untangle ourselves from drama. We can distinguish what is relevant and real to us in the here and now from outdated stories. Instead of reacting when we feel triggered, we can peel back layers of those moments and claim greater understanding of ourselves and the myths we have unwittingly subscribed to or that others have ascribed to us. Meditation can help us explore and take responsibility for our internal dissonance. Anything that takes you out of the busyness of your mind can heighten your perspective so you can see the bigger picture. There are contributors to energy depletion, such as not having enough healthy food or sleep. Diet and lifestyle are usually easier to rebalance than our self-beliefs. Illness and environments that affect self-esteem or where our soul does not feel at home or safe are other factors. We may need outside help to reclaim our energy, but having an awareness of what is required is a step closer to being able to fix the problem and can start the healing process. When you're going through tough times, doing something that makes your soul rejoice, even something small, is extremely helpful in boosting your energy. And so, yeah, that's something I forgot to mention to you, Pile 1. When you're combating this negative inner voice, which is amazing that that's what this oracle card is also showing. When you're reclaiming that energy and doing something good for yourself, as well as reminding yourself that you intend to be good and so you deserve to be your own inner friend, giving yourself something that makes you feel good is so important. Like, take a nice long bath with fragrance oil that you love to smell, or make yourself a tasty, ethical treat that you enjoy eating. Just give yourself something that makes you feel good. Maybe treat yourself to a new journal or a new crystal, or just something that you can have as a reminder of your love for yourself. So last thing it says, divinatory meaning. This card encourages you to be aware of where your energy is going. If you're not at your optimal energy level, it invites you to consider the core of why this might be. You have the power to own your energy and choose where you direct it. Look at situations that trigger drama and anxiety to reduce energy loss. Detach from environments or people that are not healthy for you. That aloneness but not loneliness. It's up to you to make the shift. Victim mentality is no help, so realize you have the power to transform your life and choose healing and self-empowerment. It's time to kickstart the upward spiral to abundant energy and soul presence. What a beautiful message. And that's it. There's your February reading. So have a wonderful month. I hope not only February of 2022, but whenever you may be tuning into this video, time is irrelevant. If you're watching this a month, a year, or a decade from now, it's still your message for the now. And I wish you nothing but love, light, and success on your transformation, on your rediscovered spontaneity, and your embracing of the flow of life, becoming receptive to all those beautiful gifts from the higher realm. We'll see you in your next video, and bye for now. Hello and welcome to your reading, you who have chosen Pile 2. Now, the talisman you picked is so appropriate for the month of February because the birthstone for this month is Amethyst. That doesn't mean you can only wear it if you were born in February. A fun little random fact about gemstone jewelry is that originally, when what we call birthstones were kind of invented by the jeweler industry, it wasn't meant to be the stone worn exclusively by people born in its month. It was the stone of the month, meant to be worn by everyone. So in January, we'd all wear garnets. In February, we'd all wear amethysts. In March, we'd all wear aquamarines. In April, we'd all wear diamonds, and so on and so on and so on. So while that could be a very expensive little trend to follow, I do love it because it wasn't meant to be an exclusive thing where the stone of the month is only for those born in that month, which, you know, if you know me, you know I wear all the stones, even though this is my December birthstone and I feel quite attached to both of them. we can all wear any gem. So anyway, that said, you've picked a talisman that includes purple fluorite, which is this big carved stone here, and some little deep purple amethysts, and then the crown. I call this like the crown talisman because it looks like one stone is crowned by another. The crown is this gorgeous celestial amethyst cluster. Now, celestial quartz of any type, so whether it's celestial smoky quartz or clear quartz or citrine or amethyst, it's always a master teacher gem. And what makes something celestiated is when you see kind of flat tabular crystals stacked on top of each other. So it's like a cluster or like a pile of stones. And these are a little bit more spiked than celestiated, but still that cluster of crystal energy represents a coming together or a joining of multiple crystalline perspectives and energies. They say that keeping an amethyst cluster in a place where there will be multiple people from multiple perspectives, so like a classroom full of students or a conference full of professionals or a workplace filled with coworkers or a family if it's a big family, having an amethyst cluster helps everyone maintain their uniqueness, but in a cooperative way where everyone gets along. And so if you've chosen this, not if, because obviously if you're watching this, you did choose this as your talisman, it shows that one of your character strengths, one of the gifts you've brought into this world, is that you set a wonderful example for other people to get along. You could make a great peacekeeper. You're kind of like that one friend who everyone can confide in because you'll help resolve a situation without taking sides in such a way that the other person feels targeted. And so you are a great mediator. You're a great friend. Just good for you, pile 2. The other thing about this is that purple fluorite and amethyst are both gems of the crown chakra. The other reason I call this the crown talisman. And when you feel drawn to this energy, this purple ray or the violet ray energy, it shows that this is a time in your life for more deeply awakening your connection to your higher existence, to your guides, to your higher self, to your angels, to gods, goddesses, whatever form of existence you connect with. You are deepening that connection now. Your crown chakra, which is also the center of receptivity, gratitude, prayerful energy, it is just vibrantly awakening. And so expect to receive some great channeled messages, not just in today's reading, but through your own inner space, because that crown is beautifully opening now. So before I get into your cards, I will play the singing bowl just to clear the space from any energy residing or residual in the air after pile 1's reading. So I'll play the singing bowl, and as I do that, I'm setting the intention that all the messages coming through today are coming through from your higher guidance for your highest good. And I request that you connect with me at this point. Take a deep breath in, slowly inhale, slowly exhale when you're ready. And set the intention that as I pull these cards in my space and my time, we're going beyond space and time. Feel that you're here with me, guiding my hand, choosing your own cards. Even though it's a long distance reading, a group reading, and a reading that I read before you watch this video, we're connected in the now moment beyond space and time. Set the intention that the messages come through are coming through from your higher guidance, not from me. I'm just the interpreter here. Wow, pile 2, that frequency got really high with the singing bowl for you. crown chakra energy again, that high frequency light. I still have trouble shuffling this deck because it's so thick, so I'm going to do it in 2 halves. So as I'm shuffling, just feel that your energy is entering into this deck of cards. Essentially that you're shuffling through me. I'm also going to mix up the orientations, so some are right side up, some are reversed. That always plays a role in how we interpret them. And what we're going to look at in today's reading are cards from the present, past, and future on an energetic level with this deck. So energetic level means the underlying currents of inspiration on a soul level that you're living through at this point in your life, like the reason for you to be here now. We have present, past, and future. Very, very beautiful cards. Your present moment is right side up, and it's a fire element card called Abilities, represented by the crystal rhodonite. Now, abilities refers to practical skills that you're also inspired by. It's like when your creativity is matched by your capability, your abilities become so much more exciting because they can be a sustainable driving force in your life. It's like when a potter can make a living making their pottery, when a painter can get gallery representation or get some commissions for their work, when a performer can go out there and sing or do their poetry or act or whatever it might be, play their music, and the audience is into it because what you want to do is matched by your ability to do it, and people always respond to that. And so in this card, you are represented by this beautiful artisan here who's working on her craft. And I love how the artist of this deck has kept it kind of ambiguous, so we can't really see what she's making. It could be a piece of jewelry, it could be a work of art, it could be a sculpture, or this could be symbolic for a musical instrument or for a writing book. Whatever the case may be, your present moment, so this goes back about a week, forward about a week, but right now, as you watch this video, your driving force in life is to be a creator. Your creative ideas are coming to a pinnacle point where you understand that your skill level is top notch. Like there can be no more doubt about whether or not you're able to make what you want to make. And that's a really beautiful card. Fire element is all about passion, inspiration, action, and activity. And rhodonite, this pretty pink crystal here, I'm sure you've seen it in crystal shops or jewelry stores. It's a heart element stone. And so it also tells me that what you're creating from the heart. Now, if we look to the past, which goes back about 1 month, we see an earth element card in reverse, and it's represented by the stone pyrite, symbolizing directive power, or what we can refer to as masculine energy. Now, each one of us has both masculine and feminine energy within, so this doesn't mean just males or just those who identify as male. This is all of us. Our feminine inner power is the receptive, nurturing, caring, compassionate energy that takes care of others and that's open to receive from the universe. The masculine energy, or that directive power energy, is the stabilizing power that helps us make a home where we are, so take care of our duties and our responsibilities. Earth element is the element that has to do with safety, stability, and security. So feeling grounded, feeling like we've got our rent covered or our mortgage covered, like we've got our shit together. Pardon my language, but it's like, yeah, you've got your shit together. When this card is reversed, it shows that there has been some worry going back about a month about stability. So whether this refers to stability in the workplace, stability in your living space, whether it's concerns about, it could be everything from property taxes increasing to rent increasing to layoffs in a business, but just kind of the fear, the hesitation that the groundedness and safety may not always be what you want it to be. Now, earth element also refers to health and physical wellness. So if you've been particularly nervous or affected by the pandemic, maybe you've even caught COVID. I know a lot of people who have. It can also refer to fears regarding physical health. Now, the good thing that I'm seeing here is that you've kind of worked through this over the past month leading to where you are now, where you've found solace in your creativity. So a lot of people will use art as a sort of art therapy. Like if you're stressed out, but you get your hands into some clay or into some paint, or you start writing like a stream of consciousness poem, or just sitting down with an instrument and letting the music flow through you, that's a beautiful way to silence the inner worries or to bring yourself back to your center. And what these cards together are showing me is that for you, creativity is not just a hobby, it can be your livelihood. Like you can truly make your living doing the creative thing that you love to do. There's a market for it, you're skilled at it, you are doing it. And so the best way to overcome any worries about stability, finances, health, and practicality is to continue to make what you're making, do what you're doing, and put it out there even more. So if you're promoting your creativity on social media, increase that. Don't worry or feel badly if you're bragging. This message is coming through to me. It's like there's like a little alarm going off in my head saying like, you have to say this and make sure they hear this, because if you're watching this message is for you. You need to hear it. Don't feel bad about bragging. You may sometimes catch yourself thinking, I can't post too much about this thing that I've made, even though I'm so proud of it, because people will think I'm bragging. Forget that. Forget that. The world needs more people to show celebration for their creative fulfillment. You have no idea who might be stumbling across your posts or seeing these things that you've made. And if you're genuinely proud of something that you've done, it's good vibes you're putting out there by showing it, by talking about it, by being excited about it. So share, 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 share. It's not bragging, it's sharing. Just think of it like this for a minute. Imagine you go over to somebody's place and they just made like the most delicious, whatever, like vegan brownies in the world ever made. And they ask you, hey, do you want a brownie? You might say no thank you at first, because a lot of us will naturally say no thank you if we're offered something. Just whatever, you say no. If that person then says okay and then puts them away because they don't want to brag, you're gonna miss out on tasting something delicious. But if they say, no, trust me, you want one of these are the best whatevers you'll ever taste, they turned out so well, I nailed this recipe, just you have to have one. You might eat it and enjoy it, and you will be so glad they talked you into trying it. The same way with your talents and your creative abilities. If people scroll past what you've posted and ignore it, that doesn't mean you shouldn't post it anymore. That just means they missed out. But if you know that what you're doing is something great and that it can be something good in other people's lives, that they'll be benefited by seeing it, listening to it, playing with it, whatever, keep sharing it and talk it up, because I feel very passionately for you, Pile 2. My amethyst cluster crown chakra friend, what you're making deserves to be seen. It is your time to rejoice in your creative expression, and other people will definitely benefit by seeing it. Now, the future card for you is a very interesting one. It's the Stone of Newmite, and the message is reunion. And what we see here is a representative of you with this face here, half dark, half light, half moon, half sun. And the reunion message represents integrating the two polarities of yourself, the two vastly different forms of your identity. There's the public you and the private you. There's the expressive you and the secluded you, the you that speaks and the you that thinks. And often we show the world one side of ourselves, and then in the privacy of our own introspection, our thoughts take on a totally different tone. We become a totally different expression of self. When this card is reversed, it's showing that you're still feeling like there are aspects of your creative capacity, aspects of your motivation, aspects of your enthusiasm, of your identity that you are denying. And this is interesting. I had a card in a different oracle deck come up in one of my personal readings recently that referred to the necessity to see all the things about ourselves that we've deemed negative, as people often associate darkness as being something more negative, the shadow side or the shadow aspect, things like failures. You tried to do something in the past and it didn't work. You set a goal, you didn't achieve it. You got into a relationship, it had a messy breakup. You tried to be nice to somebody, they rejected you. Whatever it might be, these things that we deem failures from our past, things that we feel maybe embarrassed about or guilty about or ashamed of, when we push them further and further and further outside of our sphere of identity, and we deny them and deny them and ignore them and ignore them, that shadow side doesn't go away. In fact, it gains more power because it knows that we fear when it might get revealed. If something triggers you and you suddenly remember one of those things you've been trying to repress, it's like getting a shock or like a slap in the face. And so when this card of reunion comes up, it shows that there are shadow aspects of yourself, whether from this lifetime or previous lifetimes, but things in your identity, things in your history, things in your consciousness, things you've said, things you've done, things you've experienced, things that have been done to you that you do not want to include in your idea of who you are. And because you've pushed those aspects of self away, because you're ignoring and denying that shadow, it's becoming something that you fear much more than if you faced those aspects of yourself, integrated them, and took them for the lessons that they are as steps to become who you have become. All your ability, all your talent, all your creation, all your uniqueness has been fed by both the light side and the shadow side. Who you are and the success you're experiencing now and the inspiration boost that I feel is hitting your life so beautifully right now, that's sitting on the foundation of both the things you're proud of and the things that you're trying to set aside and overcome. And so when this card of reunion comes up, it's actually a very positive thing. Even if you've been the victim of abuse, the fact that you survived that speaks to your strength, not your weakness. If you've done something that you regret doing, that doesn't say you were a bad person and you did this shameful thing and now you should suffer in your regret. What it shows is you've come all this way from doing something like that you would never do again, to being in a more empowered place now where you recognize the fault and you can take responsibility for what it was and move on from there. It's empowering. And so I feel like your homework for today's reading, it's funny, pile one had homework too. You're getting a different homework. Your homework is to identify the aspect of your shadow self that you've been denying, that you've been ashamed of, that you've built up as this big monster in your past that should be relegated to the basement of your identity or to your subconscious. Bring it forward and face it. And that doesn't mean be this negative thing that you've set aside. It means understand that that has contributed to the journey of what you are, and no longer fear it, no longer deny it, no longer try to hide it. There's power that comes from recognizing our shadow and not running from it, hiding from it, denying it, avoiding it. I read an interview recently. I listened to a podcast interview with Daniel Johns he was the lead singer of the band Silverchair that I really liked when I was a teenager. And in this interview, the interviewer asked him about this huge scandal that broke out in Australia when a tabloid newspaper printed a fake story about him, claiming that he had gone to some kind of I don't even know what to call it, like a brothel, where he dressed up as a baby and a dominatrix spanked him like a baby. It was just this crazy tabloid lie. And he took that gossip company to court, and he won, where they had to print a retraction and issue a public apology and pay him a settlement. So it was proven that it was completely fake. And in the interview, he said that at first, when tabloids would go after him and print lies about him or print negative stories, it would just derail him. He would stay home for weeks, not want to see anybody. If his phone rang, he would avoid it. He wouldn't even want to talk to his family because he felt ashamed or embarrassed about how they would feel having seen this thing that was printed about him. And he said especially because some of the things they had printed of him drinking too much in the past, or, getting in fights on the street, if they had been true, he would own up to it and say, okay, yeah, I did that and I've moved on from it. I'm ashamed of it. But when they'd print these lies, he would feel really powerless to do anything. And so I'm seeing this as an analogy for the shadow self, that when people slander you or gossip about you or make up bad things about you, and God knows that's been done to me by brainwashed people in a cult I exposed in a really systematic, crazy way online. They made up all kinds of lies about me. When this happens, that becomes like an entity. It becomes this shadow. And so celebrities who get tabloid slander about them, cult exposers who have their ex-cult members try to discredit them, or in your case, any time people say things behind your back, gossip about you, you make a mistake and people are talking about it, that's the shadow. That's this shadow self that you wish wasn't a part of you, that you wish would just go away, that you wish nobody believed, that you wish didn't even exist. And when there's no reunion, it's like half of your identity is a guilty, shameful secret. But what this guy Daniel Johns said in this interview was that at first he saw this lie printed about him in a tabloid and went back into his pattern of withdrawal, just collapsed on the floor, felt powerless, didn't want to face anybody. And then he had this burst of energy and self-awareness where he decided enough is enough. I'm not letting them get away with this time. And he broke his media silence. He gave interviews to credible journalists telling his side of the story. He faced it. And he said there was so much power that surged through him as soon as he decided to face it and to not be afraid of what the public would say when he comes forward and shares his side of the story and proves it's a lie and provides his alibi and basically has his own back. That was like the reunion. And then he started sharing about how becoming really famous and really successful as a young teenager, like these guys were 14 when they wrote their hit song that went to like #1 in Australia and the States and started touring with bands like Blink-182. They were so freaking young that obviously their identities have grown and evolved since then. He was also saying in this interview, and I'm sorry to nerd out about my old favorite band like this, but hear me out, there's a reason for it. This was also part of his shadow, was that he was saying he can't listen to any of his own music. He just cringes if he hears the music that he played when he was a teenager, because he's no longer that person. And he remembered going to school after becoming like this big superstar, and the other kids just being dicks to him, just being total little assholes to him, because they were jealous, so they had to knock him down a few pegs. But he still associates that great music that he made with being mistreated and bullied at school because of it. And so again, it's like built up as this shadow. So what I'm feeling, whenever things I've read or seen or listened to come up to me in readings, I know there's a message in it for you. So if you did something in your past that you were really proud of, that was successful, but that other people built up into something beyond you, like if you did something when you were young and your family got so proud of it that they bragged about it to the neighbors and talked about it to your friends and still have framed pictures of you in that phase that you no longer feel related to in their home. Maybe they've got like a framed picture of you and an ex, and you don't want to see that ex's face, but there it is hanging in the frame at your family home. Whatever it might be, it's like you feel part of your identity is out of your control. And so part of the reunion is taking ownership of it once again. If there's something you did that was bad that people teased you about, and when it gets brought up, you feel like it destabilizes you, it takes you away from your wholeness. Or if it's something good, but people bring it up and you're like, hey, I've grown past that now. What about these new things I'm doing? Again, it destabilizes and takes you out of your wholeness. So the reunion, bringing together the light side and the shadow side, it's not only negative things from the past that you want to brush away. It can also be if you've had accomplishments or successes, but you want to push those aside to make room for something new. What this card is showing you is be all of them. You can have your awards and your trophies and your accolades from past successes and also build something up towards the future. And this is basically the end result of that podcast interview I listened to with this genius musician who still makes incredible music. At the end of all of that, he came out and said that for the first time in his life, he actually feels proud of what he achieved with his band as a teenager. He can celebrate that success. And I see this as the ultimate example of reunion between the light self and the shadow self. When you can take ownership of anything being said about you and clarify, hey, this is true, but I've learned from it, I've evolved since then, I've matured beyond this, and I've become something more. Nobody can hurt you by reminding you of that thing you used to be if you flat out say, yeah, that's true, but this is what I am now. Or if somebody's making up slander, you can say, hey, that's not true at all. In fact, the reality is this, and tell your truth, tell your side of it. The shadow will no longer be like a monster in the closet or some scary thing under your bed ready to grab you. Instead, the shadow is what it is, and the light is what it is, and your wholeness will be there. You'll be that full, reunited, integrated self. When you're not afraid of anything coming up from your past can never hurt you. And so even though this card was reversed, I'm leaving it right side up because when we become aware of these things in our readings, they do rectify themselves. And so with that said, I'm going to ask the tarot deck to give us some clarity about these three cards: abilities in the present, the directive action in the past, and the reunion that we're working into in the future. Interesting cards. So the ordinariness card reversed over abilities is a very cool combination to see, because the opposite of ordinary, as I read it in this deck, is extraordinary. When this card is right side up, it shows this lady out in the field. It's springtime. There's a blue sky, white fluffy clouds. The grass is green. The trees are blossoming. But the message of ordinariness shows that she's taking for granted the beauty of these surroundings. When it's reversed, it's like you are starting to recognize the extraordinary about you. When you're born with creative ideas and talents and abilities, a lot of the time you don't realize how amazing and how special you are, because you've always been that way. You've always been able to naturally do these awesome things you can do. But the card of ordinariness reversed is showing that you're starting to gain this realization about just how wonderful you are, just how talented, just how skilled, just how extraordinary. And so you might be doing the same thing you've always done, producing the same kind of craft, crafting the same kind of product, making the same kind of creative contribution. Only instead of feeling like you're just doing what you do, you're celebrating that you're doing what only you can do. Because there might be a million beaders making beaded jewelry, but only you will come up with the specific designs you put together. There may be a million musicians on Spotify or podcast hosts or whatever it might be, but only you are producing the specific content you produce. You are unique, you are extraordinary. And so take pleasure in the ordinariness of life and see it for its extraordinariness. The card from the past is called Clinging to the Past, and it's reversed. And this is another one of those cards that when it's reversed, I actually see that as a positive meaning. If it's right side up, it shows this character trapped in the box of what he or she used to be. You see all these mouths, blah, blah, blahing. That's the gossip, that's the inner chatter, that's the self-criticism, it's the self-doubt, it's the people questioning you, it's the people arguing with you, maybe it's people praising you, but you don't feel worthy of their praise, and it's all about what you used to be and what you used to do and what you have done. When this card comes up, and I'm sorry if that description is anxiety-inducing, but that is the energy of this card. If it comes up right side up, it's like all the stars in space around you. You can't even see them past the chaos of your own inner view. You're just trapped in that box, clinging to that past. When it's reversed, it's showing that going back about a month, around the time you started to feel that lack of stability in your place, in your environment, in your workspace, in your home life, in your friend circle, in your physical health, whatever it might be where you felt the directive power was waning, it's around that time that you started becoming conscious of the need to drop the association with what people used to say about you, used to think about you, based on who you used to be. Very interesting that that's coming up in the past of your reading, and that reunion is coming up in the future of your reading, because it shows that this is a dynamic that's still playing out. You're still actively working towards it. But when this card comes up represented by the tarot as opposed to the oracle, it shows that you've had some actual physical life examples of it. So you may have actually caught people talking about things you used to be or used to do. You may have caught yourself judging who you are now based on who you used to be, patterns that you've already broken, decisions you've already made, but thinking of yourself as what they used to be. When this card does come up reversed, though, again, it shows you've become aware of that tendency to cling to the past and to feel boxed in by something you created and didn't know how to overcome. But it shows this conscious decision to overcome it, which is wonderful. Like, congratulations, that's your crown chakra opening. You're getting it. Present moment again, abilities extraordinary, and the future reunion. Speaking of the sunlight, it's the card of traveling. Now, this could mean literally physically traveling. This could mean actually going somewhere to experience something you've always wanted to do, maybe visiting an ancestral place, to come back to your roots, to get back to who you are. Maybe it's a visit home, maybe it's a visit somewhere cool. But the traveling card doesn't necessarily refer only to physical travel. It can also be an inner journey, going into yourself, going on a meditative trip, going on a spiritual trip, going on a shamanic journey. I don't want to promote the use of hallucinogens because each one of us is totally different and totally unique, and maybe for some of us it'll be beneficial, for others it could be destabilizing, but perhaps, talk to your doctor maybe, or your shaman, but perhaps that's the kind of trip or that's the kind of traveling you'll be going on. But when I see this card come up right side up, it shows that over the next month, about a month from now, you will be experiencing a life-changing journey. And the fact that it's right side up shows this is going to be a positive experience, a positive trip. Meditate, meditate, meditate. I feel the best thing that you can start doing, again, like your homework for this reading, is to identify the aspects of yourself, the experiences from your past, the regrets you may have built up, the embarrassments you might be hiding from. Identify them, come to terms with them. If they are not your truth, not your reality, don't be afraid to speak up and say, hey, that's not real. And if you've grown out of them, don't be afraid to say, yeah, I used to be like that, but guess what? I've become this instead. If you go to your mom's house and she says, remember you were always so messy, ha ha ha, you can say, hey, I've grown up. I keep my place neat and tidy now. Or if somebody says, remember when you used to be such a bully, you can say, I've become compassionate now. Whatever it might be. No longer fearing that people might call you out on the shadow side. No longer feeling that you might call yourself out on it and start spiraling with the identity associated to the past. Not letting your shadow overwhelm you. The shadow comes up like that because it wants attention. It doesn't want to be ignored. And it's just like a little kid acting up in class because getting yelled at by the teacher is better than getting ignored by the teacher. Your shadow self will poke at you and prod at you and bug you and annoy you and tease you and go nya, 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 because it wants your attention. And so facing that shadow, understanding it, integrating it, and no longer fearing it will disempower it in a good way. It will empower you to be your everything instead of to be your this but ignore your that. I hope this is making sense for you. We're going to conclude your reading with something new. It's the first time I'm doing this in one of my videos. I'll be pulling a card from my new favorite oracle deck. It's called Beyond Lemuria. I've been pulling a card from this deck for myself every day, and I just love it so much I had to share it with you. It's a special deck. It was a gift from someone really special in my life. And so I'm asking the Beyond Lemuria deck, what's the final message for all those who chose pile 2? What's the final message for them today? She of the Lotus. Look at this beautiful card. I haven't had this one come up yet in any of my readings to self, so I'm going to actually read from the guidebook that came with this oracle. All right, so 43, She of the Lotus. Oh my goodness, guys. Shadow work. Shadow work is the first message associated with this. And if that's not like obviously the theme of your whole reading, I don't know what is. That's a really cool synchronicity. So there's your confirmation. So I'll just leave this visible if you want to connect with the energy of the card as I read it. Shadow work, addressing dissonance, seeing downfalls as the flip side of superpowers, loving yourself back to wholeness. The beautiful lotus that grows from murky waters, disempowering triggers, bringing light into your dark corners. Originally, the title for this oracle deck was going to be The Language of Light. It was not actualized in that incarnation, as outer layers of meaning needed to be honored. The fuller spectrum I was guided to bring through also included the shadow. In hindsight, choosing to deepen the message of balance that the Lemurians were bringing forth through this work meant I had to experience my shadow. This is from the author of the deck, of course. My shadow encounters brought light into nooks I didn't know I had. If there is a way to fast track your growth, it is by being real with the shadowy or unloved parts of ourselves. There was a time when the concepts of shadow work and self-love seemed relevant, but I was vague as to what they really meant. I knew the next part of my journey was exploring them, but how that would happen was quite mystifying. The shadow and self-love are big topics to unpack, and unraveling them took me on quite an adventure. There's the journey. So maybe that is the journey. Unfortunately, I thought shadow work was about digging up as many issues as possible, and that being present with them meant wallowing in them. Without tools for expanded awareness, I felt myself drowning deeper in the upset of it all and creating more of it in the process. Yeah, that's why I've kind of avoided talking about shadow work in previous readings, but guys, this is coming up for me too, so I feel like I'm pile 2 as much as you are. My journey for clarity took me to Cambodia, where I met and mastered the art of perspective and indirectly finding growth points in a way that spoke to my being rather than my mind. That sparked a 3-month journey into the farthest reaches of myself. I realized I had a lot of unlearning and self-acceptance to do. The years of trying to be the best that I could be created constructs in my self-identity. My striving wasn't as healthy as I'd thought. By discarding traits that seemed ugly or hindering, I was also rejecting sides of myself that were quite wonderful. They were 2 sides of the same coin, and equally they were part of my true nature. When we discard any parts of ourselves, we are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Often our greatest strengths are our greatest weaknesses, and vice versa. When we reject or deny parts of ourselves, we end up feeling hollow, lost, and detached. When we take them out of the trash and work with them through compassion, gentleness, honesty, and non-judgment, we can shine a light on these shadows and see them for what they are. Incredibly, my perceived weaknesses vanished as I peeled the layers further and further back to explore the past experiences that accompanied them. Accepting the shadows enough to bring them into the daylight was usually all it took for them to dissipate. Their power dissolved, and I could see them for what they were, or rather were not. Paradoxically, self-love is a catalyst for transformation. Alchemizing painful triggers is an opportunity for awareness that helps us reclaim more of ourselves. As the dense spaces begin to evaporate, we can be filled with more light, more love, and we create an upward healing spiral. I have come to learn that shadow work and self-love are practices to implement on a day-to-day basis. When we merge this awareness with moment-to-moment consciousness, densities don't even get a chance to form. We can then live love even bigger. And this is true freedom, self-empowerment, and where authentic love and light can radiate. A true light bringer shines light in all the corners so shadows can be acknowledged and released. Divinatory meaning. Take a look at any unconscious patterns that may be running you. Are there elements of yourself you need to take out of the trash, dust off, and reabsorb? Shadows can be painful or tender to the touch. Sensitivity in an area can be a trigger that shows us where we might want to spring clean some of our darker, forgotten, ignored, or hidden corners. Accepting our shadow is the first stage in restoring ourselves to wholeness, in self-love. Peel back the layers where there is shame, guilt, or fear and bring them into the daylight. Under a loving and compassionate light, they will resolve and reassimilate so you can re-engage with your superpowers. Well, I feel like on that note, your reading is concluded. She of the Lotus has really just confirmed everything that came up in your other cards. And I'm excited for you and for me, for all of us, as we go on this journey of reuniting with our shadow, reintegrating that wholeness. And that's going to fuel so much more of this fire of inspiration and creativity. I hope you enjoyed your reading today. So much love and light to you. And let me know in the comments how this resonated for you. All the best on your beautiful journey, and we'll see you in the next reading. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to your reading. You've chosen the powerful raw Moldavite on a necklace entirely made of these beautiful teeny tiny water clear Herkimer diamonds. I just noticed how these double terminated little crystals on this strand are like microcosmic or like miniature versions of the crystal on this oracle deck, which is so cool. So Moldavite, I've done, I think, 5 videos just about the power of Moldavite. It might be time to make a new one. Moldavite is quite possibly, no, definitely my favorite. I don't want to call it a crystal because it's an impact glass created by a meteoric collision where the ground of the earth merges with the extraterrestrial energy in the meteorite and causes this powerful green glass to form. What makes it my favorite is that it resonates with such a high frequency energy. It's like a little piece of home for those of us who feel we are star seeds. It encourages spiritual growth and expansion and creative self-expression and transformation in all the positive areas. And crystal healers, I think starting with Robert Simmons of Heaven and Earth, have always said that Moldavite resonates the most powerfully with gold as opposed to silver. So I've put these gold-filled beads here, which are like a higher grade of gold plating where it's a permanent, thick layer of real gold, and that Herkimer diamonds enhance and kind of amplify that Moldavite frequency. So this piece, I mean, if you're new to wearing Moldavite and you buy this necklace, expect to get some head rushes and what people call Moldavite high, because it is really resonant. So if you chose this as your talisman, which obviously you did because you're watching this video, it means that this is a time in your life for positive transformation, for you to do some spring cleaning in the inner space, kind of letting go of whatever is no longer serving you, and to start being what you've always wanted to become. The transformation of Moldavite, it's never a transformation where suddenly your higher self or your guides or existence is telling you, don't be you, be somebody else. It's always existence giving you the go-ahead to be who you've always known yourself to be, but kind of censored for the sake of the world. When this card comes up, it's basically a crystal saying you do you. Like, you are the best version of you you can ever possibly be. And just like, I think it was Michelangelo, which master sculptor, correct me if I'm wrong, but was famous in saying that when he would create a masterpiece, the sculpture already existed in the stone. He just chipped away whatever was not meant to be in that masterpiece. When Moldavite comes in, a lot of people fear the energy. They think it's going to chip away pieces of them, and maybe they're not ready to let go of those pieces. Like, maybe they'll lose their job that's not resonant for them, or maybe a relationship will end that they're not ready to let go of. But just like a master sculptor will only chip away the pieces of stone not meant to be in the sculpture, the Moldavite, it's not an external force chipping away at you. It's more like you give creative license to your higher self to sculpt your physical reality into what your higher reality already is. Nothing will be lost that's meant to be a part of you. Nothing will ever pass you that's meant for you. And when you wear Moldavite, it just accelerates the process of purification. And it doesn't just take away what's not harmonious. It also replaces it with something even better. So it's like if you're holding on to some rusty old pennies and your higher self comes in, prompted by the Moldavite, pries open your little fist and flicks away those rusty old pennies, you might be like, hey, like, dude, those are my pennies, give them back. But there's gonna be a stack of better currency, higher value, maybe some gold coins will replace those rusty old pennies. Whatever Moldavite takes away, it replaces with something better, higher frequency, and more resonant. And I'm probably preaching to the choir. You probably already knew that, and that's why you chose this powerful, beautiful talisman. And yeah, this is just your confirmation that it's time for you to do that Moldavite dance, that transformation celebration. I'm just noticing in this angle, it gives kind of a mermaid vibe, doesn't it? I'm seeing like a tail here that's curling up and under and some long hair. This piece is magical. It looks different from every angle. I've also noticed that from the side, it has kind of a side profile looking like a face. See the lips, the nose, almost like a big feathered headdress, like a chief or a medicine person. I'm having trouble getting the camera to focus. That's why I keep moving my hand around. See that face? It's pretty cool. All right, I will set this aside. So that is your talisman for the day. I'll leave it so it's still in view during your reading. And now, in preparation to look at your oracle cards, I'm going to play the singing bowl to purify the space from any residual energy after reading pile 1 and pile 2. And I'm asking existence to let any messages meant for pile 3 to come through right now. And as I do that, I'd like you to set the tone, set the intention that whatever messages come through from your higher guidance to serve your higher good. Be in the moment with me. As I shuffle the cards, it's you picking them through me, and I'm just the interpreter for your higher guidance. Take a deep breath, slowly exhale, and we will begin. Wow, pile 3, that singing bowl got extra high frequency and high pitched for your reading. It's like with every reading of the day, it gets just a little bit more intense. So we're going to start your reading today by looking at energies from the Crystal Ally cards. And these are going to be the energies underlying your life experience at this moment. So going back about a month, going forward about a month. The energies are basically your reason for being here. They represent the driving force or the inner spiritual catalyst for which you are here at this point in your life right now. We have present, past, and future energetically. So the present moment card, illumination, represented by the gem Cerussite, shows you represented by this crystal just bursting in like an electric explosion of intensity. It's a storm element card, and storm element is the most powerful of the elements in the deck because it combines earth, air, fire, and water. Earth with the mountains, air with the sky, fire with the lightning, water with the sea. When all four elements are there in your present moment, it shows exactly what I was saying by your choice of Moldavite as the talisman. This is a time of transformation in your life. Now, the reversal of the card shows there is still some hesitation as far as going into this transformation. Part of you might still feel unworthy of this great spiritual explosion that's meant for you. And the reason I say unworthy is that the card from the past is the card of love reversed. When we see the message of love in a reverse capacity, it means either a loss of love in the physical space. This could be a loved one passing away or a relationship coming to an ending. It can also mean a lack of self-love, where you feel like you don't deserve the blessings that you have in life, or you don't deserve love from others or from yourself. Love is represented by the rose quartz crystal, and I just love that the heart has little crystal wings, which represent the freedom we feel when that love and that heart is open, when you're receiving what you're meant to receive, when you're tuned in with the blessings of existence. It's a water element card, and water represents the fluidity of life, going with the flow, surrendering to the current, allowing the energy of existence to carry you where you're meant to be. When it's reversed, it shows a little bit of hesitation, kind of avoiding letting yourself fully relax with that current. Imagine you're at the beach, it's a beautiful sunny day. What if you just float on the surface of the water and let the tide carry you out a little bit? If that makes you feel anxious, like, oh wait, no, what if I get swept off to sea and lost forever? That's an analogy for how this card is showing you're feeling in life. It's like if somebody tells you they love you, part of you will be saying, don't get attached because this might end. And so right away, it's like you're avoiding surrendering into that current of love because you're afraid if you let it carry you out to sea, you'll be lost forever without support, without grounding, without knowing how to find your way back. It's showing that you put up barriers around yourself to try to maintain the status quo of what you've always known. However, you're blocking a lot of possibility here, a lot of love energy. I actually wore a rose quartz ring today, and now I'm thinking I wore this ring for you, for all who chose pile 3, because it's such a powerful talisman for softening the hard edges in life, for really allowing the blessings of existence to reach you. Love is the currency of the cosmos. When you love yourself, it gives a signal to the universe to shower you with blessings because you know you deserve them. I'm going to turn these cards right side up because once we're aware of the fact that we're blocking an energy that's available to us, as soon as somebody tells you, like, hey, you're blocking the doorway, you'll step aside and suddenly movement can happen through that doorway again. It's like that with the energies. There is illumination in the now available for you. As soon as you know that you've been blocking that illumination, the light can shine through because you'll get out of your own way. And I'd like you to just think for a moment. Maybe not right now during the reading. I'll keep talking through these cards, but after the reading, I think your homework for the next little bit will be to look at your life and see where you might be blocking love, where you might be telling yourself you don't deserve love, where you might be pushing people away for fear of getting too attached or for fear of rejection. And decide consciously to open your heart chakra a little bit. That doesn't mean be a fool in love and jump at things too quickly or be needy. No, it's the opposite of that. It more means love yourself so much that you know if somebody welcomes you in, it's a blessing for them. If somebody chooses to love you, they're not doing you a favor. They're enriching their lives with your presence. That's the kind of self-love rose quartz can awaken in you. If you have a piece of rose quartz, I'm just going to put some right here. So even when my ring is out of the shot, you've got some rose quartz to look at. If you have some rose quartz, I would recommend cleansing it, passing it through incense or through water. Just clean it up a little bit and put it under your pillow at night to let that love energy permeate you through your sleep. That's one way to kind of awaken that heart energy. Carry it in your pocket or in your purse or in a medicine bag, or if you have a piece of rose quartz jewelry, just wear it throughout the day. And whenever you look at it, remind yourself that you are love. You can never be lacking in love because love is what you are. You can only forget that that's what you are and feel like you don't have it or feel like you're not worthy of it. But when you remember that you are it, you'll never run out of it, you'll never feel denied it, and you'll never feel like you should avoid it because you could get hurt. Not possible. Just radiate that love and welcome it in. And I feel these two cards are closely related because they both came up reversed, which shows the heart chakra in your case is the key to your illumination. In the 7 energy centers within the human energy body, the heart is in the very center. So below the heart, we have the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root. So the 3 lower chakras. Above it, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. The heart is kind of like the key that links your physicality with your spirituality. So it's so important to have it open and functioning because that allows you to embrace the fullness of who and what you are. I would say even be cute about opening this. Don't think of it as like homework or as work, but get a sticky note and draw a heart and stick it on your mirror. That's cheaper than going out and buying yourself some rose quartz. It's like a quick free little talisman you can make for yourself and just see it as like a love note from you to you. The more you love yourself, the more other people will be blessed by you, the more they will feel your love, the more you'll be able to give love to them and receive love from them. It's like a currency, only the more you spend, the more you have. It's the opposite of money, where the more you spend, the less you have. But with love, the more you give, the more you overflow, the more comes to you. The future card for you is the card of power. And we see this divine feminine warrior princess in this beautiful warrior pose, radiating fire in the sacral chakra, holding balls of fire in each of her hands. And this is the fire of action, of creation, and of healing. When somebody does energy healing, it's often represented by light emanating from the palm of the hand that's like going to give the healing touch. Since it's a fire element card, that represents your creativity, your passion, your creation. And this shows that the illumination coming to you in the present combined by the love that you're awakening to in a deeper capacity, is going to lead you to even more energy to pursue your passions. And I feel like about a month from now, the goal you're working towards, or the future you're moving into, or what you're manifesting, I don't even want to say goal you're working towards, because that makes it seem transactional, like you have to do something to get it. But it's not transactional like that. It's more a manifestation. What you are consciously creating in your life is a much more fulfilling outer dynamic. And so energetically, start paying attention to what you want to do more than what you feel duty-bound and obligated to do. If you have to do something and you're dreading it and you're procrastinating it, take a mental note of that and contemplate what you could replace that with that you enjoy, that inspires you, that you feel excited about. Because like this warrior princess going into a righteous battle, I see you, all who chose pile 3, going into a battle to conquer your life in such a way that you make it truly exciting and vibrant and your own. See yourself represented by this figure. She's about to go into a battle, but look at the calm serenity on her face. She's not scared. She's not staring down an opponent thinking, I'm going to destroy you, or I'm going to back down from you. It's more like she's facing that opponent saying, don't mess with me, I've got this. And that's the confidence I see you moving into through this illumination and this transformation. If you already have some Moldavite in your collection, start wearing it and start carrying it around with you. Don't be afraid of it. Now is the time for you to activate that in your life. So with the energies revealed, I'm asking the tarot cards to show us, while the first 3 cards are the energies at play in your life right now, I'd like the tarot cards to show us the practicality, what's going on in the outer world life for those who chose pile 3. Tell us why illumination and love were reversed, and give us a hint about the joy of this power. Wow, okay. So the possibilities card reversed shows that part of the reason this illumination card was reversed is that you see your life not as a finite existing reality, but as a moment of indecision. You have so many possibilities available to you. The sky is the limit. You could go anywhere, you could do anything. But instead of reveling in that freedom and enjoying this, you feel a little bit overwhelmed. It's like you're getting decision fatigue about your own life. You know that you're good at a lot of things. You also know that you have a lot of obligations and stuff that you have to do, but there's more freedom than control right now. And because of all that freedom, because you can do this, that, or the other, you're not doing anything. It's like, you know you could do anything, and so you're not able to take a step in any set direction, because the moment you start going this path, you change your mind and want to go that path, and then you change your mind and want to go this other path. And this has been going on for about a month, maybe even longer, but definitely as far back as we're looking in this reading, when we see the card of adventure reversed. So in the adventure card, you're represented by this little girl wandering off into nature, kind of trying to figure out what that cool little fairy rainbow light is in the background. When it's reversed, it shows that you've been conditioned in your life to be a little afraid of the unknown. And what I'm feeling, especially because this character is represented by a little child, is that when you were quite young, you had adult influences telling you to play it safe. Be careful. Don't take risks. Don't go out into the woods by yourself. You don't know what's out there, what can get you. And so instead of seeing life for the possibilities and for the adventure and for the exploration, you do feel overwhelmed by possibilities and afraid of the adventure, and kind of like you'd rather be safe than take chances. But at the same time, now is a time in your life when you're meant to be going out there as the fierce, brave warrior spirit that you are, embarking on an adventure and making the most of these possibilities. Now, the way to rectify these reversals is to take a look at your past and figure out from where that conditioning arose. Was it parents or grandparents or teachers or society in general? But at what point in life did you start to fear the unknown and to feel like you have to be practical and play it safe in order to guarantee your success? Because inside you, there's this little curious spirit who wants to go figure out what these little lights are, but you're holding yourself back out of fear of what else might be out there. It's kind of like you feel like if life is too good to be true, it will definitely be too good to be true, and you won't find anything good. This can also explain why the illumination card was reversed and the love card was reversed. You're afraid to take chances in love and spiritual exploration for fear of disappointment or rejection or a negative outcome. And so this tendency not to go in any one direction because you're overwhelmed by all the different options, it's a pattern that has stopped you from doing a lot of things. And I'm feeling this really heavily in my heart as I look at your cards. Those who chose pile 3, I'm getting this message from Spirit for you that you feel like there have been so many possibilities in your life that you've missed. You often look back at what you could have done and feel like you made a mistake by not doing it. Like you could be so much further now if you had done this, that, or the other in the past. And this is part of the reason the self-love wasn't there. Part of the reason the heart, the rose quartz card, was reversed. Because you've developed a little bit of guilt or shame where you're blaming yourself for missed opportunities and missed possibilities. Now, the good news for you is that the possibilities in the illumination card are in the present, not the past. One of my favorite expressions, one of my customers from my jewelry shop online told me this. She was going through a difficulty after having an injury. She broke her arm and had to miss work for a long time and has had a lot of problems with it and had a relationship breakup. And I was sending her some support and some encouragement. And she wrote back and said that her favorite mantra at times like this is to remind herself, nothing that was meant for her will ever pass her. And I've seen this come up a few times since then. It's funny that I've lived 37 years on this planet and only finally heard this saying that's apparently quite famous. You've probably already heard it. But nothing will ever pass you that was meant for you. So right here, right now, you can drop any of that self-doubt or self-criticism where you've been telling yourself inside, I should have done this, but I didn't do it. I should have done that differently, but I didn't. I should have taken that chance, but I didn't. Forget all of those things. Those were just leading you up to where you are now, where you still have options, you still have possibilities. The adventure isn't just in the past, the adventure is now. See yourself as this majestic bald eagle flying over the countryside at sunrise. Your possibilities are infinite and endless. You can do anything, and don't be overwhelmed by that fact. Be excited. And don't feel like you can't start going in this direction because what if you change your mind and want to go in that direction? Go in this direction and understand that you have an infinite capacity to go in both at the same time. As mind-boggling as that might be, you can be a musician and a writer and a painter and an actor and a teacher and a lawyer and a doctor. Life isn't about limitation, it's about exploration. And whatever you feel called to be, you're meant to be that. You're not meant to be this or that. You're meant to be everything you want to be. So be that. Going into the future, this beautiful, powerful, fiery, divine feminine character. Cool that we see one on top of the other. These are both fire cards. They're both goddess cards. This one here being kind of a Lakshmi embodiment. It's the message of sharing, where this beautiful matriarchal figure is holding a cornucopia of abundance and just radiating that light for whoever needs to see it. When this card came up originally reversed, that shows that part of you still has a disconnect from the figure of a generous, giving mother. Part of you doesn't feel like the divine mother, the divine feminine, the mother energy, including the inner mother inside of you. Part of you doesn't feel a connection to that figure as the overabundant, generous, giving figure who always has flowing robes to wrap you up in, who always has food to put on your table, who always has a light to brighten you up. Part of you feels judged by the mother. Part of you feels rejected by the mother. And so part of the physical work for you to do, and I use the term work lightly, it can be play, not just work, but part of your homework for this reading is to identify where it is and why it is that you feel disconnected from this divine feminine figure, where you feel like you were not given everything you wanted or everything you needed, why you feel like Lakshmi might shower her coins of generosity on other people, but not on you. Where do you feel like you're blocked off from that? Because once you understand why this particular card came up reversed, you can heal your relationship to that divine feminine energy, and the blessings that will start to flood into your life will be just unimaginably great, like something you've never experienced before. And I do see this coming up in your future. It's in the future position on the table, which means you're meant to receive it. And this doesn't mean that your mother was withholding or that she didn't give you what she needed. It just shows that it could be that. For some of you, it will be that. But because this is a group reading, that won't be the truth for everyone. So it's good for you to identify where in your life that has come up and to make peace with it and to understand that not everyone you've ever met will be a perfect embodiment of the universal existential energy. You'll meet assholes. That doesn't mean the universe is reflecting to you that you're an asshole. I really, really want to get this out there to you too. I feel like somebody watching this needs to hear this. When people in the spiritual community tell you the world is a reflection of you and what you experience is a reflection of you, the key words in that are that what you experience is a reflection of you. A really tuned in, mystically aware, open chakra, light worker, channeler, spiritual being in a human body might walk down the street, and a person up ahead on the sidewalk will be having a really, really bad day, be grumbling and groaning, and look at them and say, what do you, like, get out of my way. You know, might yell at you. You might be walking down the street feeling okay, and then some random stranger in a bad mood might yell at you for nothing, give you a dirty look, call you a bad name. Who knows? This happens a lot in big cities. And if you listen to a lot of the spiritual teachers out there right now, you might suddenly feel like you've been knocked back a few steps spiritually because you think, well, that person is a reflection of what's going on inside me. And so why did I manifest this experience where this angry person on the street swears at me? I must be doing badly in my spiritual growth. But that's not true. Your experience is a reflection of who you are, not other people's experiences. Those are reflections of who they are. So let's flip this for a moment. You're walking down the street, you see somebody in a really bad mood, they swear at you. Or you're scrolling through your Instagram and some troll out there leaves a mean comment on one of your posts. It can be that too. Like in this digital age, it happens more online than even outside in real life. If you're in a really good vibes kind of a place, you'll see them and think, wow, that's too bad that person's having such a bad day, such a negative experience. They have to say something mean on my post, or they have to say something mean outside on the street. That's too bad for them. I will wish them all the best and block them from my social media because I don't need that kind of negativity in my life, or walk a little faster because I don't need this in my auric field. And what happens is your experience remains high vibe and positive despite the external negativity coming at you because of somebody else's experience. They choose to dwell on their negativity. They're feeling down, they're trying to drag other people down with them. Don't let them drag you down. You're feeling elevated. You want to remain elevated. Wish them well. You can even tell them, sorry you're having such a bad day. I hope you feel better. But for now, I have to remove myself from this situation. Maybe talk to me again when you're in a better place. Until then, I hope you do well. Give them some advice if you feel brave enough to, but you don't have to. And then you can look at it from this perspective. Their negativity, maybe their higher self wants them to get a blessing, and so they've put you in their path for a reason to do good for them. And it's not existence trying to knock you down, it's existence working through you to try to build them up. So the world around you is a mirror, but not in such a way that every person you encounter is showing you what you are. It's that every person you encounter is an opportunity for you to see how you react to them. You don't have to let those things be like a negative sign or a bad omen. They can also be an opportunity to raise somebody else up, or to see how good you've become at filtering through what you will and will not accept into your energetic space. I really feel that when this card was reversed, it's like you've had a buffer built up against the energy of generosity coming from others. It's like you've built up this thing where if somebody offers you a gift, you feel like, well, if I can't reciprocate, I better not accept it. Or because this person didn't have enough of that thing, I can't accept anything from somebody else because what if they run out? And so this lack mentality has built up in your life in such a way where, again, you're overwhelmed by possibilities. You're reluctant to accept the heart-opening love, but that's what you're meant to be. That's what you're becoming. You're becoming Lakshmi. You're becoming this divine, generous, feminine figure. And by the way, whether you're male or female or don't identify as either, no matter what, we all have masculine and feminine within us. And so this divine feminine just refers to your ability to nurture, to take care of others, to bless others with that presence, to be in that cosmic flow, to be that receptive. The more you receive, the more resource you have to give to others as well. And so you can see where that has been blocked, whether it's been blocked through a physical encounter where you've either had a mother or witnessed mothers. Could be mothers of your friends, it could be friends of yours who have kids of their own, and if you see them not being those perfect, generous, loving, abundant people, if you hear a mother at the store when you're out shopping and she's yelling at your kid, put that back, we can't afford it. And so it creates this impression in your mind that mothers say no, not yes, when you ask for something. Wherever that originates, identify it and delete that file from your mind, because the cosmic mother that you're tuning into as we move forward over the next month has so many gifts to give you, and also wants to give those gifts to others through you. So one fun practice I would suggest for you is just try this little shift in your cognition when you're out walking around, if you're out doing your shopping, if you're out just for a walk in nature, or if you're scrolling through comments on the internet. If you encounter somebody with low vibes, having a bad mood, taking out their bad mood on you or on others, it can just be inwardly or through an intention. I don't want you to put yourself out there and risk unpleasant physical encounters with people, but set the intention that you have so much love and light within you. You have so much positivity. You have so many good vibes. You've got your Moldavite transformation and your Herkimer diamond radiation, that you've just got such an overabundance of all these great things that you'll send some of it their way. Bless the trolls. Bless these bad mood people. And understand that they are not a reflection of anything negative in you. They are there to awaken an even greater light within you. Now, with that said, speaking of light, it's been crazy weather where I am lately, and the sun is getting even further hidden by some snow clouds out there. So I'm going to end your reading, while I'm still able to read these, with a card from my new favorite oracle deck. It's called Beyond Lemuria. I've been pulling a card a day for myself and just love the messages. It was a gift from somebody really special to me, so I'd like to share that gift with you in your reading today by pulling one card. And since they're still new to me, I'll read the message from the guidebook so that we're really clear about what they're saying. So I'm asking this deck, what is the final message for those beautiful, powerful souls going through some illumination, connecting with Moldavite at this point in time? And the card I'm feeling for you is called Water, the Overflow. How perfect is that? That the message I was just getting for you is to imagine yourself so overflowing that whoever you encounter, you can share what you have with them. Boy, I wish it was brighter in here. I'm gonna see if I can brighten up my camera a little bit. There we go. Now you can see a little bit better. Should have done that earlier. What a beautiful, beautiful figure. So I'll leave this card where you can see it, and we'll read the accompanying message in the guidebook. So Water, the Overflow. The keywords are abundance, non-attachment, the paradigm of no scarcity, allowing financial and energetic gifts to flow through and create more. How cool. It's exactly the message from this card, only it's showing it from the water aspect rather than the fire aspect. Different elements, but same meaning. And the creator of this deck wrote, during one of my most pivotal Lemurian visions, I was guided into a life where I lived in a humble mud hut. As I could create any thought in the multiple dimensions that I had access to, I simultaneously resided in a beautiful crystalline palace. I found myself in a paradigm where I could create anything at will, and thus there was no concept of scarcity nor the need to hold on to anything. This experience initiated a shift that changed my life. We may only be starting to touch on this notion in our mundane reality. When we give more from a place of overflow than obligation, even when we think we have nothing, having it come from this mindset can only create a more abundant flow of what we want. That being in the picture has many hands and yet still the being in the picture has many hands, and yet still the water is allowed to flow through her fingers. It blesses her in the moments it touches her radiant skin and then continues on its journey. Her heart is also overflowing with love. Her eyes are filled with tears. She allows what comes through to move her without control. She gracefully allows whatever she is feeling to be expressed, and as she does so, she radiates so much light into the world. Themes: allowing for flow, receptivity, the path of least resistance, purity, clearing away that which no longer serves, and emotion. What a beautiful message to conclude your reading, pile 3. And it's so apt. since you chose the Moldavite, that part of the message is to let go of what's no longer serving. Just let things pass right through you like the water through this bean's fingertips. Be overflowing in your abundance, be overflowing in your emotion. And also how beautiful that we see this shining heart at the center, which kind of brings us back to the heart at the beginning of this reading. And also the character out in nature, like the little child explorer looking at the rainbow in nature. So that powerful card concludes your reading. Be your most abundant self. Be in that flow of sharing. Be the warrior goddess, powerful creator, blasting through negativity and transforming it into positivity that you are. So much love to you. I hope you enjoyed your reading today. I hope some of the messages resonated. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.